Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Is Red Dead Redemption 2 the best video game that has ever been made and humanity's crowning achievement that will change the landscape of video games and modern science as we know it? No, it is not. Now I know in the gaming community, the comments section, the R-gaming subreddit collectively just shit their pants, grabbed their pitchforks and told their parents,
Initiating moisture.
I'm a huge fan of the Devil May Cry series. I've played every single game, including 2, and I even like the DMC reboot, and you can hold my 6.5-inch penis, because the game is good. The gameplay is very good in that game, and it's a game that shouldn't be taken seriously, and as long as you don't take it seriously, there's a lot to like about it. With that out of the way, let's look at Devil May Cry 5, the newest entry in the franchise. I really fucking liked it. I liked it a lot, but there are a couple things I didn't like about it, but let's just get into the things I fucking loved about it. I love the style. I always loved the Devil May Cry style. It is so goddamn beautiful to look at, and I love the over-the-top, goofy cutscenes with cheesy moments. Not the dialogue. I think the dialogue is insufferably bad, where it goes from just cheesy to downright embarrassing. To give you an example of that, there's a scene where Nico, who is a new character introduced in the game, picks up a devil part, a dismembered part of a devil, and Nero says, "Do you know where that's been?" To which Nico says, "Up your butt." I mean, like, that's not cheesy. That's not, like, tongue-in-cheek. That's not, like, so bad it's good. That's, holy shit. This makes me want to take a fucking sledgehammer to my PC because I just heard that. It's embarrassing to listen to at points. And I know I said I was going to talk about the shit I fucking loved, but then I immediately started talking about the thing I hate the most, which is the awful script in this game. Anyway, I love the visuals in this game. They set up some beautiful set pieces, nice environments, and the cutscenes are glorious. With such goofiness, such over-the-top testosterone badass moment, you know, a fucking van flipping over the goddamn mystery machines, flipping around, Nero's flipping around, shooting demons, fucking farting on demons. It's great. I absolutely love the style. Since I've already brought up the complaint, I'll go ahead and touch on that now. The script, the dialogue in this is insufferably bad. It's not like a self-aware bad, at least it doesn't seem like it, at least not throughout. There are moments that are very clearly self-aware, but like Nico, for example, her entire character is built around awful dialogue. She's my least favorite character in the game, my least favorite character in any game I've played recently. I couldn't stand listening to her. She could have been a cool character. I like what she does with the making the arms, the driving the mystery machine, being like this crazy driver, this loose cannon, a wild card. I like that about her. But every time she spoke, it was embarrassing. Like, I felt like a fucking idiot playing the game. All of the characters just have super shitty dialogue. Another example is V, who's another new character. His entire shtick is reading edgy poetry from a book, and it's always the same poems: ripping, tearing the flesh, the mother earth, the mirth. It's silly, but it's not like the self-aware fun cheesiness we've come to expect from the Devil May Cry series, where it seems like they know that it's silly and they want us to know that it's silly, so we're all in on the joke. And here it feels like we're not in on the joke, and they've committed so far to the joke that it just becomes fucking awful. And that's by far my biggest complaint about the game. It's just an incredibly awful script, horrible dialogue, but there are moments in it that are good. Like, there's some self-aware moments that I think are executed well, such as Dante doing the fucking moonwalk, the entire Michael Jackson routine for like 30 seconds, and then they never touch on that again. It's as if it didn't happen, and it was done so well, and I really like how they played after it. I really enjoyed that. That's when it was self-aware, cheesy, and fun. But that's so few and far between, sandwiched in between this awful fucking dialogue. And then there's this goddamn bird that V has that sounds like Gilbert Gottfried if his nuts got caught in a wood chipper. And his lines are super bad too. It's just, all the dialogue is just not good. It's really not. And that's the biggest complaint. That's really the only big flaw in this game, because the gameplay, smooth as ass cheeks. The most hairless of ass cheeks. I love it. Each character you play is 3. You get Nero, V, Dante throughout the story. Each one has different little gimmicks, different mechanics. For example, Nero's got the Devil Breaker, and he gets to swap in new arms that have new abilities that you can combo off of and make interesting things happen. He's also got the Exceed gauge, which is when you perfectly time a left trigger input, you can fill it up and get some more powerful attacks, longer attacks. V uses his animals to attack his panther. his immortal blob of oil, his fucking, it looks like muck as a Pokemon. You get your bird. Well, it doesn't look like muck at all. It's just a giant fucking glob of oil. It's invincible. You get a panther, that, and then the bird. And that's cool the way they attack together with the synergy. And then Dante gets to seamlessly switch in between weapons and stances and guns throughout his combo, so it's real flashy. The gameplay is absolutely superb. Perhaps some of the best in the series, honestly. I really enjoyed stringing together a lot of unique combos. Son of Sparta mode was incredibly difficult for me, when usually it was kind of a pushover in the past games, in my opinion. Maybe I'm just rusty at hack and slash, but here I really struggle getting through the game on it, which is a good thing. It's just a really fun game. It's a really, really, really well done hack and slash game. The soundtrack I liked for the most part, but I've honestly got to say, I don't think it was as good as previous entries in the series. It wasn't nearly as memorable. It just fell flat for me in a lot of points. And not, it's not bad by any means. It's nowhere near what I would call bad. But I honestly think DMC Reboot's soundtrack with Combi Christ, I think DMC3's soundtrack, I think both of those are the highlights of the franchise in terms of its sound. I think both of those games have a far superior soundtrack than this game does, though this one's not bad, it just didn't hold a candle to those two classic soundtracks. And I'm not trying to frame this as a negative thing, because it's not. It is a very good soundtrack still. I'm just can't help but be disappointed that it didn't reach the level I was hoping it would. Now, the only actual other complaint I have is narratively, the game's a bit weak. Devil May Cry's never been a game series to me that's had extremely strong narratives. I think it's had strong characters, Virgil and Dante, Trish, Lady. I think they've been strong characters, but narratively, it hasn't been the most sound to me. And in this game, narratively, it's also pretty fucking weak. The ending to this game, I think, is incredibly shitty. I think the game has a super shit, lazy ending that I don't want to spoil anything of, but it's like some super anime cliche shit that I don't really think has a place in the franchise. I really didn't enjoy the ending, and a lot of events leading up to it I didn't care for either. It's not a bad story by any means, but it's definitely not a story that's very good either. It's a very lackluster story, lazy story. Let's go ahead and plug this shit into the moist meter. I'm giving Devil May Cry 5 an 80%. I think it is a very, very, very good hack and slash game that I think most people that are fans of the franchise are already getting. But if you're still on the fence, you absolutely should play it. It's a fucking great game. You might want to play it muted during cutscenes though, so that way you don't accidentally hear some dialogue. That's it. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're looking at the new Mortal Kombat 11. I'll go ahead and be upfront, I'm not a huge fighting game guy. The only fighting games I ever got into are Smash Bros. Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and Mortal Kombat 9. But Mortal Kombat 9 I put more hours into than any other fighting game I've ever played, so I'd consider myself very familiar with the series. I didn't care much for Mortal Kombat 10. However, I'm happy to say Mortal Kombat 11 is a little bit closer to 9 than it is 10, though it is still slower than both those games mechanically, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because it's due to this slow pace that it opens itself up to a lot more innovation. I really enjoy the crushing blow mechanic. I really like what they've done with the fatal blow mechanic instead of just having an X-ray tied to meter. I think all of it works a lot better, far more intuitive, and leads to a lot more fun matches. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start with the story. No one really plays fighting games for the story, but Mortal Kombat's always had an interesting one in my perspective. This one's a big step back. The story is a convoluted mess in my opinion. None of the decisions by any of the characters really make any sense, and sometimes the story just feels like a Power Rangers episode. By that I mean they'll have the bad guy, the good guy, they'll square off, be like, Kano, I'm about to rip your spine out of your urethra and then fuck your asshole with it, and then you beat Kano in the fight. And then you just walk away. You're like, I hope you've learned your lesson now, Kano. Don't let me catch you being evil again. And then he comes back being evil. And then you do the same fucking thing again and walk away. Same thing goes for the villains. As a villain, I'm about to fuck your asshole and then pull your spine out of my asshole, Johnny Cage. Then you beat Johnny Cage. I hope you've learned your lesson now, Johnny Cage. I'm evil. And then they walk away. They don't finish the job for no reason half the time. Like, the story could have ended in Chapter 3. You not only beat Kung Lao and Liu Kang, the evil versions of them, you just let them walk. You just get the fuck out of there for no reason. It makes no sense. It's just bad plot armor. And also the writing's really bad. All the attempts at humor do not land at all. It's not like self-aware attempts at humor. It's just bad writing, honestly. It is very pretty to look at. I think there's some good cutscenes in here with some really cool choreography. And there is some deaths, like, halfway through the game, the tone shifts from being, I'm going to let you go with a warning, your 7th warning in a row. It goes from that to putting a bullet right through the skull of Kano. So it does change its tone, which is good. I think it's much better in the later half of the story. And I'm critiquing this story really hard when no one gives a fuck about it, but the story just got under my skin because it was a big disappointment. I love Mortal Kombat 9's story and shit like that, and it was a big step back there. Moving on to the part people actually care about is the gameplay. The combos have never been better. I also like the roster a lot. I really like how a lot of the combos tie into each other and the way you're able to use the offensive 2-bar meter and defensive 2-bar meter as opposed to just 1 meter for everything. I like the way they've divided it up. I think it's a very clever use of the meter, and it makes it a lot more strategic. That's a word I use a lot in this game because it's a far more strategic game than previous Mortal Kombats, in my opinion. The slower pacing makes it have to be more about tactics as opposed to, out-comboing somebody. It's all about timing. When are you going to use your breakaway from getting out of a combo starter? When are you going to use a flawless block and then punish? There's a whole lot of depth to the game. A ton of fucking depth, and the tutorial in this game is insane. The tutorial covers frame data, for God's sakes. I've never seen a tutorial as in-depth as this game has to offer. It's totally optional. It doesn't force you to go there. It doesn't hold your hand and take you for the lollipop or anything like that. It just gives you the option of learning everything you can about Mortal Kombat, how the gameplay is done, advanced combos, combo starters, even individual character training. There's a whole lot of shit in the tutorial, and it is incredibly well done. The online is also smooth for the most part. I see a lot of praise with the netcode. However, I have experienced laggy matches. Not overly often. It's not enough to make me, flip a fucking table and pee my pants, but it's enough to be a little bit frustrating, and I imagine that's just because it's launch day. The biggest complaint that I have, the story I complained about a lot, but that's really not a big part of Mortal Kombat. That's not a huge deal to me. What is a big deal to me is the overly greedy and borderline criminal microtransaction system this game has. The monetization in this game makes EA look like saints in comparison. So there's towers in the game, the challenge towers, and you actually can't complete some of those challenge towers without grinding for loot box item consumable shit to beat some of the challenges. They're downright unfair, anti-fun challenges to begin with, but not only that, they are actually impossible to beat unless you have perfect RNG and some loot boxes and get some of the consumable shit that you have to grind hundreds of hours for. Someone did the math. If you wanted to buy all of the skins in the game with to skip the grinding, it would cost you $6,440 to buy all of the unlockable skins without the grinding. That is absolutely absurd because the grinding is awful. Absolutely awful. This monetization in this game nearly ruins the entire game for me. This takes a big fat fucking shit in the cereal bowl for me. This is the most greedy microtransaction system I've ever seen, blowing Star Wars Battlefront 2 out of the water and anything else I can even think of. It's so goddamn disgusting it makes me want to puke. It should be illegal, the monetization method that Mortal Kombat 11 uses. Absolutely criminal. That's the biggest complaint, and it's a big fucking complaint, and I wish reviewers would take this into consideration when reviewing a game, a system like this being in place, because it actually halts your progress in the challenge tower at points, and if you do care about cosmetics, you're going to have to grind for thousands of hours to get all of the skins, actual thousands of hours, or spend thousands of dollars to buy the skins. The challenge tower is just genuinely unfair if you're trying to do it without using, too many rare consumables, and you can't do half of them unless you have those extremely rare god consumables that you have to grind hundreds of hours for and just pray that you get good RNG from your loot box for the perfect consumable to use against the stage. It is so anti-fun, I can't recommend ever going into that for any reason whatsoever. It is just so brutally, it's not challenging, brutally unfair to force your hand into grinding to extend the game's lifespan and kind of tilt you more towards buying microtransactions to kind of help along. Even though microtransactions still rely on RNG in this game, so you still can't even pay for what you want. And that's mainly just for skins and shit anyway. You can't buy loot boxes, but it still makes you want to do that instead of grinding for the skins and shit the right way, because it is so unbelievably, unforgivingly, and unapologetically unfun. It's just so fucking not fun and so long, it's an insult. you lose no matter what. You lose just by buying the game at that point. It's so unbelievably silly and upsetting to see. It really is. That's my only complaint, because everything else about the game, aside from the story, which isn't a big component, I just really wanted to vent about it because it made me upset. I'm playing the game on the PC, and on the one-on-one, like in ranked, the connection was fine for the most part, but when I tried to do King of the Hill, it was constantly laggy, like beyond words laggy. It makes Nintendo Online look like a useful and well worth its service. It was incredibly disgracefully laggy. There was crashes. The game would hang up and I'd have to force quit it. I don't know if that's universal to all platforms, but on PC, I experienced that every time I tried King of the Hill. But in ranked and just one-on-one, it was fine. The roster in this game, I think it's 22 deep if I'm remembering correctly. All the characters are pretty fun to play. I don't like playing Aaron Black, but he's like the only one I genuinely don't have any fun playing. All the other ones are a lot of fun with a lot of fun little combos. I don't know the bread and butters for all of them right off the bat. I haven't put too much time into the combos yet, but the ones that I do know and have mastered to a certain degree are really satisfying. Everything else about the game from a gameplay perspective, online, the characters, visually, soundtrack, all of that is top-notch, exactly what you'd expect from another Mortal Kombat game, and a really good Mortal Kombat game at that. It's just, I'm plugging this shit into the moist meter. I'm giving Mortal Kombat 11 a 70%. Keep in mind, this would be somewhere in the 85% or higher range because I really like the gameplay so much, and I just keep frothing at the mouth to get back in training and learn more combos with more characters. But I just can't help but be unbelievably upset with what the game is from a monetization and a greedy standpoint. You really see where NetherRealm's priorities lied. They wanted to make this a game that they could milk the fuck out of consumers, try and corner them into buying loot boxes to skip grinding, and it's a shame. It's an absolute shame, and I think they deserve a lot of backlash for it, and they're getting it. It's just, this is such a good game too. Such an incredibly good game. But you shouldn't have to pay $6,400 to get all of what the game already has in it. It's just silly. It's unbelievably silly. That's it. So yeah.
Initiating moisture.
Today we're looking at the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Let me get a big complaint out of the way right now. I hate its fucking name. I hate this goddamn trend where you name the newest game the same name as a previous entry in your already established franchise. And I know I make this complaint every single time some game or movie does this, but to me it's like breaking an unwritten 11th commandment. It's a fucking cardinal sin. I know I talked about it with God of War, the new one, Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2. I hate this shit. I don't know why you're naming a new game the exact same title as an old one, and every single time those sad, lonely, limp-dicked enthusiasts and super fans of the franchise always defend it with that pretentious, artsy reasoning. Oh, well, you see, Charlie, it's actually a soft reboot of the franchise, so them making it the same title is actually kind of poetic, and it makes a lot of sense if you only watched Rick and Morty. It's just so fucking stupid. It's dumb, it's lazy, it's uninspired, just fart-smelling nonsense. Name it anything but a name that already exists in your franchise. Change it up a little bit anyway. Call it Call of Duty Finger Family, Fingers My Family, I don't care. Just stop naming the games the same fucking title as something you've already had. And now pushing that aside, the game's super solid. And especially one thing that caught me off guard is how great this story is. I was blown away by how competent the story was. It was fun, it was engaging, the characters were well acted, the set pieces were fucking beautiful, cutscenes great, but the cutscenes were so good looking that it always lagged. It always caused frame drops. And it wasn't just me. I streamed the whole thing live at twitch.tv/moistcritical. I stream daily. Come check that shit out and follow if you'd like. And everyone in chat would say when they played campaign, the cutscenes lagged their machines as well. So it wasn't local to just me. It's not a shitty computer. It's just the cutscenes look so great that technology hasn't caught up to their beauty, so it struggles. And one thing I need to point out is how short the campaign is. I played through on Recruit because I'm not playing Call of Duty to get like a fucking challenging experience that I'm going to remember, like some kind of profound uphill battle that I come out on top of with a sense of pride and accomplishment. I was just playing it for some fun, and I was there to laugh at the story because I thought it'd be bad, but I ended up really liking it and the characters. But it's super short. So on Recruit difficulty, I was able to blast through the campaign in just under 4 hours, and that was with taking breaks and kind of just fucking around with the game itself. So it is a short game, but it does tell a good story in that time, and it's well made, well rounded, and the missions are really, really cool. Not all of them. There's a couple really stinky ones where it's just defend this point for X amount of minutes from X amount of waves, and I hate that shit, just point defense for X amount. But when it's not doing that and you throw on the night vision goggles, busting down doors, you know, making split-second decisions on whether you shoot the person or not, are they a bad person or not, it's just really fun and engaging, and I was really impressed with the story. I do feel at the end, though, the ending of the game is weak. There's a very huge plot hole. I won't get into spoilers, but one of the main characters does something that makes absolutely no fucking sense given the circumstances right before the game ends. But aside from that, the campaign being good, how is the multiplayer? Because that's what most people play Call of Duty for. The multiplayer is great in terms of its gunplay. The gunplay is so fun. It's nice and fast, very responsive. The guns feel nice. There's a lot of customization options. It's pretty fucking deep in that realm, and it is just always fun to run and gun someone down. But it is held back substantially by some of the worst map design I have ever seen in a video game. Out of the 10 multiplayer maps, that excludes ground war maps and gunfight maps, gunfight being the 2v2 game mode. Out of the 10 multiplayer only maps, only 2 maps are even playably enjoyable and almost well designed. Everything else is absolute fucking dog shit. And I'm not exaggerating. What is the big problem with these maps? Why do I think they're so bad? Why does most people agree that they're so bad? It's because they were designed to favor camping hugely. And I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but that's what it ends up doing. Because every position you take on this map, no matter where you're going, where you're at, you can get shot by like 15 different possible spots. You can get shot by 5 windows that you don't see and 4 different fucking hallways and alleys you don't see. And if you wanted to check each and every one before going, you wouldn't have time before you got blasted from some fucking obscure window that also overlooks you. Everywhere in all of these maps is constantly being able to be seen from pretty much anywhere on the map, which leads to people constantly just picking a spot and camping it. So playing fast, running gun, playing aggressive is punished in this game, and it's the map design that does it. The gameplay seems to want to be fast and in your face, nuts to butts, peel your urethra back, and just annihilate you with speed and intensity, violence. But you don't get to do that because the map design holds it back and makes you put on the condom and makes you slow down, or else you're just going to keep getting your ass extended. It's so frustrating, and the spawn system is awful, absolute shit too. It's so unfortunate because it hinders the game in such an important way. It takes away how much fun you can have with the guns, and it makes it just such wasted potential. They need to make a free DLC ASAP with good maps in them. Otherwise, this game is not going to last. These maps are driving people away faster than anything else, and it's for good reason. They are so bad. I can't even wrap my head around what they were thinking with these maps. It's just so overstuffed with all of these angles that everything looks at. You are never able to properly move around a map because you're just going to get gunned down from 5 windows. It's so dumb. It's so frustrating, and I can't complain enough about it. Gunfight doesn't suffer from this problem. That's the 2v2 game mode because it's 2v2s. The maps aren't as important there with the angles and such because it's only 2 people against 2 other people. So you don't have to check 1,000 different spots and get gunned down in the process. You will have time to go through the angles. So I don't find it as big a deal there. Ground War is just a complete waste. Ground War is going to be the most miserable experience you ever have in an FPS. There's nothing fun about Ground War. The vehicles feel like you're playing Battlefield Mobile in 2008 when mobile games just didn't even really work. So the vehicles are no fun at all. And the maps in Ground War are to another level of awful. There's 2 Ground War maps, and they're both irredeemably horrible. The first one is the one from the beta. That's the one that has a mountain overlooking the whole map where the entire other team just sits with snipers going for their KD and phase montages. And if they're not doing that, they're sitting on that same mountain with tanks just spraying their fucking splash damage, hoping to get kills that way. It is such horrid design. There's no fun to be had in either ground war map. The other one's all about verticality, so almost everyone's just standing on top of buildings, sniping down on you, and if they're not doing that, they're hiding in buildings waiting for you. Also, getting to the top of the building is extremely tedious because it's 20 floors, which you have to go up individually, and there's nothing there. So once you commit to going up, you're going from floor 1 all the way to floor 20, the fucking roof access, because there's really nothing else on those floors. It is such a shit map. Ground war, just disregard it, pretend it's not there, because it is horrendous. You will have no fun unless you like just standing still with your finger up your ass and sniping from a mountain across the map or on top of a building. That's not really my playstyle. I prefer aggressive and, really just a fast-paced playstyle, which this game really punishes super hard. So you have to adapt and be more campy and slow and cautious, which is a shame. This game had so much potential with this incredible gunplay, but their maps are so bad. I can't stress it enough. They're absolutely horrible. Plugging this into the moist meter, I'm giving Call of Duty Modern Warfare a 70%. Strong campaign and extremely strong gunplay, but the maps just bring this down from a great game to only a good game. And in fact, I'm going to change my mind because it's 70's even still too high for how miserable the multiplayer gets on these maps. I'm dropping it to a 65. It is so frustrating. You can go 30-0 in this game, get a nuke, and still had no fun because you were just camping for it and you didn't enjoy it. I've had many times where I'm going fucking 45-5, and by the end of it, I just want to be done because it was no fun at all. It's just a shame that these maps make such a huge impact on how good the game is. They bring it down so far. And that's it. See ya.
This episode is brought to you by Raycon.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at Final Fantasy VII Remake, a game I've been looking forward to for like a fucking decade, it feels like. I don't know how long it's been, but I remember like PS3 trailers that would leak, and I'd scour game forums like I was a fucking archaeologist trying to clean some finds off and find the diamonds or the truth. And, I'd go on GameFAQs and I'd find posts like, hey, look at these real screenshots from Final Fantasy VII Remake. These were in an old computer that was thrown away in a dumpster outside Area 51. It's real. So I've been keeping up with this shit for a long time, and having it come out is super special. Final Fantasy 7 through 10 are among my favorite games ever created, and I think they are timeless masterpieces. You can still go back and enjoy them today. They've stood the test of time. I replayed them like 8 years ago, which admittedly isn't the most recent replaying, but still. Great games, and I'm happy to say Final Fantasy VII Remake met my expectations for the most part, and in certain cases even exceeded them. So let's obviously start with the narrative. Final Fantasy VII Remake is extremely true to the original. It only covers about 15% of the original's content because this is part 1, and it does it beautifully. Now, it only covers that 15%, but it expands it, and it's not all just filler. I was worried it'd be mainly just tedium and filler, and yes, that is definitely present, especially with a lot of forgettable nonsense side quests where you'll kill 5 rats in the middle of nowhere because some guy's trying to piss on a cactus and doesn't like the rats bothering him, or you'll be in a town and you'll have to go find a magic vending machine that you show an orb to and then it gives you a bottle of hot sauce. So there's definitely some garbage side quest shit here that's just for padding, and especially when it comes to some of the puzzles even during the main quest, it just seems like tedium for the sake of tedium. But other than that, the story and the actual expansions and new shit they add here is excellent. In the original, it only took about 6 hours to be done with everything Midgar had to offer. In this, it took me 28 hours. I fucking streamed 16 hours straight just now and beat the game because I was just so engrossed in the adventure and the characters. There is so much more character development and character growth, and you really care more about the characters in this game than in the original for the 15%. I'm not talking about the entirety of Final Fantasy VII original, of course. I'm only focusing on the Midgar arc. This gives so much more character depth to the characters that were present in that beginning chapter. It is excellent, and I don't know how you could even make an argument for the opposite. There is so much more you do with the characters. There's a lot more going on with them that you get to experience. I'm trying not to spoil anything, but you go on special missions for some of the characters, learning more about their motivations, what they're like. It's just a lot more, especially for Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse. It's just great. I absolutely love a lot of the new shit they put in here. I don't love all of it, but for the overall, I'd say most of the new additions here fit very well. And the fact that it is so true to the original and its main story points is great because you get to see those incredible moments brought up to the next level, brought into the 22nd century because this game is so fucking beautiful and visually stunning that it just seems so far ahead of everything else. Like the cinematics in this game and a lot of the choreography during their fights, especially towards the end, is jaw-dropping. Really incredible stuff with a great soundtrack that just slaps asshole. This shit is banging constantly. The soundtrack in this game is nothing but straight fire bangers that make you want to slap your mother. It is incredible work that really amps up the cinematics here. But seeing all of those moments from the original taken to this level of care and passion and seeing them unfold, it's just an absolute joy. Now, while we're still talking about narrative, I have to say I absolutely understand why people towards the end of the game may have been very turned off. And it's also where I have a lot of problems with where the narrative goes too. With no spoilers, the game does get very, very Kingdom Heartsy. A lot of the stuff it does is very reminiscent of some of the shit Kingdom Hearts does, and I can absolutely see why it would leave a sour taste of diarrhea in a Final Fantasy fan's mouth. That being said, if you're not already a Final Fantasy fan or haven't played the original, I don't think you're going to have a problem with the direction this game goes. And I actually really like the idea behind the direction that they're taking Final Fantasy VII. I actually do appreciate what they're trying to do. I just think the execution is weak, and they may not have made the best decision only focusing on such a small portion of the original. Again, with no spoilers, I don't want to get too deep into it, but I do like kind of the idea of what they want to do. So I can respect that, but the execution, especially with some of the stuff they throw in at the end, is just weird. It just seems very messy and could get very messy and silly going forward with the next parts that they add for Final Fantasy here. Now, moving on to gameplay. The gameplay is not turn-based combat, which disappoints me. I'm a fan of turn-based combat. I think turn-based combat is timeless. Like I said, this shit still works. It's fun enough. It's not always fun. Grinding in turn-based is never fucking fun. But grinding in general in most games isn't fun. It's not in this one either, but the combat's enjoyable. The combat's flashy, it's fluid, it works well, and it is fun to fight good bosses. Although, unfortunately, when playing through the game on normal, most of the enemies, even just trash mobs, are very spongy. They just take so much damage and so much time, a lot of effort just to dispel 4 fucking squids that fly around or 3 seahorses that spin in a circle. It takes a lot of fucking time because they take so much damage. Even if you're just perfectly exploiting weaknesses, constantly going for staggers, it's still just a time investment that becomes a slog towards the end. I don't have a problem with the gameplay itself, mainly just the enemies make it not fun. I don't think it was necessarily difficult, it was just tedious and became a chore to go through fights from point A to point B. Some of the bosses were fun, but others were genuinely just sponges that you'd have to wait for a damage phase or a vulnerability phase with nothing else to do. So, I do like the combat though. It's fun to switch between characters, queue up a bunch of different abilities and have them work together, exploit weaknesses. It just takes a while to actually kill something when doing that. Of course, the combat's very deep. There's a lot of depth to the combat and preparation for fights. Obviously collecting tons of materia, different links, different build, well, not really builds, but different ways you can organize your characters and your parties to do different things. It's just, there's a lot of depth to it, which I can absolutely always appreciate. Now, another thing I will say is there is like some pacing oddities in this game. I won't even say it's bad pacing because it really doesn't feel like the pacing is shitty or anything. It just feels very odd at times. And it's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's something I felt was worth noting. I want to say, I really like the fucking voice acting in this game. It's not like the best voice acting of all time. It's not like stellar. You're not going to be jerking off really like, oh, these characters are fucking real. The voice acting's really selling me or anything. But it's so cheesily great between the writing and the execution of the lines. There's so much cheese and corniness to it and just so much life to the characters that I just fucking love it. It's just so much fun. All of the characters have very serious moments, of course, but also just really goofy, cute moments between another, letting you know that they're friends. They're becoming friends. Cloud's cold heart is starting to warm up as he gets closer with the group, and you see him go for high fives that he's been shying away from for the last fucking 10 hours of the game. It's really, really enjoyable stuff. I was fucking smiling during half the goddamn game when it was getting cute. A lot of times you'll, feel very awkward with some of the shit that goes on, but that's kind of the point. That's kind of the charm sometimes, and I really like that. there's really nothing I have to critique about the writing in terms of its dialogue and the way that characters are executed, except for maybe it gets very edgy at times. Like sometimes it's needlessly edgy with some of the lines it gives and a bit pretentious, but it's not a big deal. It's not that big of a complaint. So plugging this bad boy into the moist meter, I'm giving Final Fantasy VII Remake an 85%. There is a lot of problems here, and there is a lot of narrative things I didn't agree with or appreciate that makes me very worried for its future going forward, but I do remain cautiously optimistic with what they do next, and there are obvious flaws that cannot be overlooked with the enemies becoming a real fucking chore. There's just clear tedium and padding for the sake of padding, you know. It's clear that they wanted to stretch this out as long as possible, especially when it comes to like some motorcycle shit. There's like a fucking motorcycle thing towards the end that lasts like an hour, like a straight hour that you cannot really speed up no matter how fucking great you are. It's just, there is genuine padding that is just blatant. But all of that considered, the game is extraordinary, and I had an incredible time with it. It is a beautiful game that I really, really enjoyed, and I very much would say it was worth the wait. I wasn't disappointed. There were things that I felt were lacking, but on the other side of that coin, there were things that I felt were just fucking spectacular. So that's it. I'd like to again talk about Raycon wireless earbuds right now because I think right now wireless earbuds are extremely important. I've talked about Raycon multiple times in the past. You know I mainly use it when I'm doing active work, such as working out at the gym. But with quarantine kicking in, you're not going to the gym, but it's no excuse not to be active. And calisthenic work, body weight exercises, that requires a lot of movement. That's just going to be super uncomfortable with a wire. Raycon wireless earbuds doesn't have that problem. Super comfortable, super easy, and they're just a fantastic set of wireless earbuds. One thing I've started doing is jump roping. Couldn't even imagine doing that shit with a wire on it. It would be a total, utter disaster. I'd be yanking it out of my ear and screaming and crying all the time. Don't have that problem with Raycon. They sound just as amazing as the other top audio brands you know, but they come in at half the cost. Also, their everyday E25s are their best model right now, so I'd recommend those if you're interested. So if you want to get yourself a pair of Raycon wireless earbuds, you can go to buyraycon.com/moist to get 15% off your order, or just click the link in the description. That's buyraycon.com/moist for 15% off. So yeah.
This episode was brought to you by Manscaped.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at Minecraft Dungeons. As I'm sure you all well know by now, and I'm sure you've already left an angry comment about it before, I don't like Minecraft. I never have. I've given it plenty of tries, and I've just never really gotten into it. It's just not a game for me, but I totally understand why people love it as much as they do. That being said, I wasn't even going to play Minecraft Dungeons, but when I did take a look at the trailer, I realized that it's not like Minecraft at all. The only thing it has in common is the same enemies, same style. That's about it. It's a totally different game. There's not even like a single crafting element to this game at all either. So in a nutshell, Minecraft Dungeons is like if Dr. Seuss made a Diablo game. It's a family-friendly, kid-friendly take on the ARPG genre. It's very simple. There is some depth to it, but it's nothing that's going to have you min-maxing like a motherfucker trying to come up with these crazy builds or anything like that. There's no skill trees. When you level up, you just get enhancements that you can put into a couple skills on your weapons. It's very simple surface level stuff, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's not trying to be some kind of hardcore Path of Exile competitor. It's just a simple, fun, easily digestible, short ARPG game. And when I say short, I mean short as shit. If you just play through the game start to finish on the default difficulty, your first playthrough, it'll take you anywhere from 2 to 4 hours to beat all of it. It is not a long game at all. But there is replayability because there's a lot of randomized loot, randomized areas. There's a lot to explore to find all the unique weapons and unique items, and then there's artifacts that also play as kind of like a skill bar where you can use them occasionally off recharge. There's higher difficulties like Apocalypse being the highest, but the only difference in difficulties is how much damage you deal and take. It's just a matter of numbers being cranked up. There's no new mechanics introduced to make it harder or anything, so it's kind of lazy difficulty, just artificial bullet sponging. I'm not a fan of that, but in a game like this I can excuse it because it is just a simple game. It does feel like you're playing a Diablo mobile game to a certain extent. It doesn't look like it or anything, but it plays like this very watered down, very basic ground level ARPG, and I think that's what it wanted to be. Kind of like an introduction to the genre for people that have never seen a game like this before. One thing that stood out to me was the music. I actually really liked the music in this game. The music was really soothing, so I appreciated that. And then sometimes it had some kind of bangers in the background. Now, getting into something I do have a big complaint about, when I played through this game on my first initial playthroughs, I encountered so many fucking bugs with it. It was like playing a Bethesda game on launch. This shit was wild. So on mouse and keyboard in particular is when I noticed the most issues. For example, if you click on an archway above you, your character just completely freezes and you can't move. That happened to me 4 or 5 times over the course of the game. You can't move no matter what you do. Then occasionally when you try and like kite an enemy, or if you like click on some side of the, like one side of the screen, your character is going to go attack an enemy on the other side of the screen that you were not clicking. The character is like a mind of its own, like you're battling with a sentient being who's rebelling against you. I had so many problems playing this on mouse and keyboard initially just due to some very odd bugs I kept having happen. When I switched to controller, it was a lot smoother, but I still had that hang-up problem. Sometimes I would get locked into like a perpetual attack animation without touching any buttons on my controller. Sometimes my character would also freeze just for no reason in the middle of the air. Shit was just kind of buggy, like out of control. It also, from what I read, shipped with a bug where if you uninstalled it, it wiped your entire SSD. That's fucking hardcore. Like, Minecraft Dungeons is a pretty Weenie Hut Jr. style game, but that is some salty Splatoon level bugs right there. Wiping your entire SSD of all of the games you have on it and everything, that shit's wild. It apparently got fixed very quickly, but the fact that that happened at all shows that the game was kind of lazily programmed and optimized, at least in my eyes. But the game itself, when it's not glitching and having these bugs, I think is a very fun game. It's nothing that I think anyone's going to get super hard into. It's just going to be a casual, fun little ARPG. Collect some shit, go into the little cute Minecraft universe, and just play through some simple missions, some simple dungeons, get some cool little unique items. And the weapons are varied, the weapons are cool. They do have some neat enhancements on them. For example, your armor can have Snowball, where every second it's tossing out a stun on enemies. So you just have this fucking machine gun of snowballs stunning the entire mob in front of you. It's really, it is interesting, and they have some good ideas there. But it's very simple, and I think that's what it wanted to be. So it succeeded in the areas it wanted to, so plugging this into the moist meter, I'm giving Minecraft Dungeons a 70%. I enjoyed it, and I'm not a Minecraft fan. This really doesn't have anything in common with Minecraft either. Like I mentioned, there's not even a crafting element. If you want to get unique items outside of finding them, you spend emeralds and you get random items. You can't craft anything, so a little odd that that's not even a part of this game's identity with crafting gear or something, but it is what it is. Not a bad game, and I had fun. It's time we had another talk about grooming. I recently shaved my dick, balls, and taint region. I actually explored down there a little bit to take care of that. And I couldn't even imagine grooming without using Manscaped products. I don't even know how I did it before. I probably would have sliced my own nutsack off by now if I wasn't using Manscaped grooming products. But aside from just the stuff that handles that region down there, they also just came out with something called the Weed Whacker, which is used for ear and nose hair. Like excessive amounts, you know, like the fucking creepy old guy amounts of like hair pouring out of your nose and ears and shit. And I was giving that a whirl, and that shit actually was pretty integral to the male grooming process, I would argue. Didn't have a whole lot of ear hair to really put it to the test, but nose hair, I've been known to have a couple strays fly out, so the Weed Whacker took care of that no problem. And of course it's using their skin-safe technology, so you're not going to hurt yourself or anything like that, which is great. So there's no real like danger or anything associated with it, as with all of their products. So if you're interested in trying out any of Manscaped's products like the Weed Whacker and everything else they offer, you can use code MOIST20 at manscaped.com to get 20% off plus free shipping on your order. That's code MOIST20 at manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping. That's it. See ya.
This episode was brought to you by Manscaped.
Initiating moisture.
Non-stop, people have been asking me, Charlie, when are you moist metering PGA Tour 2K21? And I just wasn't sure I had it in me to play the game. PGA Tour 2K21, I mean, that's just a big undertaking. There's a lot of content there to digest, especially for golfing fans. I wasn't sure I was ready to take on the journey. But I buckled down, put on the big boy diaper, and was rewarded with more golf than a human being should be able to handle. I'm proud to say I got exactly what I expected, which was some fucking golf, baby. So, PGA Tour 2K21, its best feature is its golfing. The game offers a way to play golf in your own home. with a level of realism that doesn't make you miss the outside world. It's better in this virtual cyberspace of PGA Tour 2K21. Obviously, with the pandemic still in full effect, most of us haven't been able to actually hit the courses for 18, haven't been able to touch our friend's dick jokingly on the back 9, so we just haven't been able to really get out there in the real world and whack the sack around, which is fine because PGA Tour 2K21 offers you that same experience in your own home and better, I would argue. Now, I'll fully admit, I passed on the last PGA Tour 2K games. I gotta be honest, it's too much for me sometimes. Occasionally, I'll look at games as robust as the PGA Tour 2K series and just say, God damn it, if I start playing this game, it's gonna take over my life. It's a gateway drug. One second I'm just playing some golf online, next second I'm dropping my pants behind a Walmart dumpster for some cocaine. But this year for PGA Tour, I decided, you know what, maybe not every addiction is bad. Maybe there's healthy addictions, like getting addicted to fucking golfing like a madman. And that's exactly what's happened to me. I have been golfing non-stop. I can't stop thinking about golf. I'm wet dreaming about golf, and it's all thanks to PGA Tour 2K21's innovative mechanisms to make you really feel like you're swinging the club at Mach 3. Really make you feel like you're driving it down 350 yards easy. Parking that little bitch right there on the fairway, aiming right at the green, chipping it in for an easy birdie. Makes you feel like some of the best in the world. And with a character creator like this, where you actually have quite a bit of creative freedom, you can make yourself look like the best in the world. My character, who I began my PGA Tour 2K21 career with, is called Wile E. Shitterman, and Mr. Shitterman is perhaps going to be one of the most household names in all of golfing. Whether it's esports golfing or real-world golfing, I think Wile E. Shitterman has a very bright future. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. This game is not for pussies. This game has a very steep learning curve, especially if you're using mouse and keyboard and play with pro controls. And if you're not playing pro control setting, you're just not even golfing. Get the fuck off of my PGA Tour 2K21 game, please. This is not Weenie Hut Jr. This is a game for real, serious, competitive golfers. The kind of guy that goes to the golf course and sprays cologne on his golden watch just because he wants to smell like money. This is not a game that is inviting to a novice, a rookie who's never even played golf before. I would argue this is a game for only the elite golfers like myself to enjoy. Now, if you're playing this on mouse and keyboard, it is actually pretty difficult when you first start, because the motions have to be damn near perfect. You have to get the timing correct, and you have to get the up and down motions right on the money with no deviations, or else you're going to slice or hook the ball like a motherfucker, and that can be frustrating. Now, I do imagine it would be easier on a controller, but I'm no bitch. I started with mouse and keyboard, and goddammit, I mastered the mouse and keyboard. So, I enjoy mouse and keyboard, but it is a steep learning curve, and there's a lot of angles of attack you can take here. But when you're using mouse and keyboard, just know you're going to have an uphill battle compared to someone who's going to be using a controller, I'll tell you that much for sure. But it's still a lot of fun. Even when you're going 42 over par, you're still having a good time because, hey, you're out there on the green, baby. You're just putting around. You're getting some big drives. You're hitting the ball a lot. You know, you're having a good old fucking time. You can even drink while you're doing it. There's no laws in PGA Tour 2K21 that says you have to be sober while playing. There's just a ton of ways to have fun in this game, baby. When it comes to PGA Tour 2K21, fun isn't an option. It's fucking required, and you will be experiencing fun. And especially if you indulge in its multiplayer capabilities, because the multiplayer I had a blast with. I only played 2v2s, and I tell ya, I formed a special bond between me and my teammate. There's no voice chat, so we couldn't like flirt with each other or really get to know each other very well, but just being able to play golf with a total stranger online was a serene experience. I've never felt so connected to a virtual man in all of my life. It was a wonderful experience. There's no voice chat, like I said, so they can't hurt your feelings or get mad at you if you're playing like dog shit, so that's another great benefit. But man, I tell ya, the 2v2s in this game, wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I really just don't have too many complaints about this game. I will say I wish they had utilized the video game medium a bit better, because it is just a golfing simulator, and admittedly the graphics aren't the best that have ever been created in the world, but it doesn't matter. What I wanted them to do, perhaps maybe for PGA Tour 2K22, is go harder. Don't just make it a golfing simulator where it's real-world stuff. Let's get some fantasy elements in there. Maybe for PGA Tour 2K22, they introduce a story mode, a narrative story that is so complex, it would make fucking Hideo Kojima's head spin. Perhaps a time travel experiment goes wrong and we're sent back to the long-distant past, and all we have is our golf clubs, our caddies, and about 1,000 golf balls, and we have to stop Genghis Khan from nearly taking over the world. So we're fighting against Genghis Khan, then all of a sudden, wait a minute, Armageddon. So we have some fucking meteors coming in, and we still have these golf balls, and all we can do to stop it is hit enough drives at the meteor to break it up before it enters the Earth's atmosphere and takes us all out. There's just so many possibilities when it comes to golfing if they're willing to go that hard. You know, we introduce some mutants, you know, you're not even golfing against human beings anymore. Maybe some intergalactic travelers are coming in because they want to play golf with Wile E. Shitterman, my created character, or whoever you decide to create. And, you know, there's just so many options, and I hope they explore that a little more thoroughly in PGA Tour 2K22 or something, or maybe just 2K23, wherever they decide to go. I really think they would benefit from introducing a story and incorporating a lot of other sci-fi elements, some fantasy elements, maybe some like dark drama shit as well, like maybe Wile E. Shitterman's wife has been cheating on him the entire time he's been on the PGA Tour. There's just so many things I think they could do and should do. But as of right now, as of this current moment, PGA Tour 2K21 I think is a fine golfing game, offering an incredible golfing experience. So, plugging PGA Tour 2K21 into the Moist Meter, I'm giving this bad boy a nice crisp 80%. You know, I don't have any complaints, but again, it's golfing. You know, you get what you're expecting, I'll tell you that much. And you get enough of it. Fucking trust me, you get enough golfing. And yeah, I think that's the best part. That's about it. So yeah. I actually just finished shaving my balls and I got excited. I got like a sense of pride and accomplishment. So I wanted to talk about Manscaped because I of course used the Lawnmower 3.0, which is like the Excalibur for ball shaving. It's safe. Never have to worry about accidentally injuring myself. I could do it with one eye closed. It's just so convenient. It's ball shaving mastered. The Lawnmower 3.0 is an absolutely beautiful piece of machinery, part of the Perfect Package kit. And for a limited time, if you order a Perfect Package kit, you can get a nice pair of boxer briefs that come with advanced cooling technology, no chafing. And you can also get yourself a little shed travel bag. It's just a great deal. I highly recommend it for anyone that needs to take care of some male grooming, which can sometimes be a tedious chore. Manscaped makes it easy and safe, because I've definitely had injuries doing it. I'm sure most of us have, and I haven't had that problem since using Manscaped. So if you're interested in trying Manscaped, you can go to manscaped.com and use code MOIST to get 20% off your order and free shipping. That's code MOIST for 20% off and free shipping at Manscaped. That's it. See ya.
This episode is brought to you by Raycon.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at Ghostrunner. This game is great. I'm just going to immediately start with that. This game is absolutely outstanding. At no point over the 6 or 8 hours you'll spend just beating through the game does it ever get stale. It is always at every single moment just a fucking pedal to the metal experience that'll make you want to slap your mother. It's a game right out of a wet dream I would have had as a 14-year-old boy who watched Rurouni Kenshin for the first time. You play as a sword-wielding cyber ninja in the future landscape, post-apocalyptic cyberpunk universe as you have all of these abilities and tools at your disposal to slice assholes in half and just be a goddamn super ninja hero. And that is absolutely fantastic. Even just traversing the world is a joy. It reminds me of like Titanfall 2's movement to a certain degree. It is so fluid, it is so crisp, and it's so enjoyable. Even when you're not just running around circumcising the bad guys with your sword, just getting from area to area is enjoyable in and of itself. It is just fun. While running off a ton of shit, dashing into a slide to build up extra momentum, and it just feels fucking fast. Like, it feels like my hair was blowing back just moving in this game. So even when you're not engaged in combat, you are still having a good time just getting around the area. And it does have a pretty strong narrative. I wouldn't say that it's great or bulletproof or anything like super special, but it's an effective narrative. It makes you interested, makes you care, and I think it delivers the narrative in a fun way where when you're getting a lot of exposition, you're also doing things at the same time, like jumping around in the cyberspace, doing a little platforming and puzzle solving occasionally. Like, it's still fun, even just getting fed exposition in this game. Yeah, it's certainly predictable at points, but it is a good narrative and it gets the job done. And the absolute bread and butter of this game is its combat. My fucking god, the combat is glorious. It's not easy. This is not an easy game by any means. You're going to be fighting a lot of enemies in a lot of locations and going up against a lot of different things with unlimited ways of getting through them. I can only imagine how fucking great the speedruns for this game are going to be. There's so many tools at your disposal and so many options for approaching a fight. It's going to get absolutely wild, I imagine, when it comes to speedrunning this game. You can jump around on walls, you can freeze time and dodge a bullet, you can deflect a bullet. There's just so much to do when approaching a fight, and it is always so satisfying after getting your cheeks clapped, your asshole spread open 20, 30 times in a single section against the enemies, to just get that one beautiful, perfect run where you go through 6 different enemies with all kinds of different approaches to it, where you're not just gonna like beeline and just start hammering left click. You have to really think things through. Like, you're gonna jump in the air, you're gonna freeze time, dodge a bullet, then slide, slice their legs off, go to the next guy. There's just, it's so good. It's so good. Imagine Doom Eternal made a wish upon the 7 Dragon Balls to be Genji from Overwatch. You have this incredible blend of Doom Eternal and this cyber ninja fantasy. It is, so good. It's just so fun. I really can't suck this game's cyber cock enough about its gameplay. They absolutely crushed it. At no point was I ever, mad about a death or anything. Sometimes, you get that brief burst of shit. But then you realize, yeah, that's my fault. The game is extremely fair. It's always your fault when you're getting slapped around, and then you get to overcome that challenge and pull through with something beautiful. And it is always so rewarding. And the game visually, I think, is great. I love the visuals in this game. I'm a huge fan of the aesthetic. And now on to just a couple minor complaints, like there's nothing huge. Since the game is so fast, I felt sometimes some movements and some inputs didn't fully register. For example, I'd accidentally cancel something and get fucked for it. And also when it came to platforming, I'd feel like sometimes I wasn't wall running when I thought I should be. Like, I'd have this incredible plan in my head, and the second I go to execute it, I, for some reason, don't get a wall run off, and then I just plummet and die. Or maybe I made a big jump, and for some reason I didn't grab up onto the ledge, even though I landed, like, right on the ledge. He didn't pull himself up for some reason. He just dropped like a fucking rock on the ledge. And I'd be like, well, why the fuck didn't he pull himself up? I've done this a million times, and I pulled myself up every other time. Why is this one different? And I think it's just occasionally some of those things would happen, which is a little frustrating, but it's not the biggest deal in the world because you're going to die a million times anyway, and respawning is instant. You just press R and it's immediately right back in the action. If there's loading screens, some things like that would be a lot more frustrating, but since it's so quick, it's not that big of a deal. And it didn't happen super often anyway. And that was also the case when I was going to like right click to like lasso myself up to something. It would be blue and I'd right click and it just wouldn't go off sometimes. So just occasionally things like that would happen. But anyway, plugging Ghostrunner into the moist meter, I think this is an easy 90% game. I think this game is absolutely wonderful. Everything about it I think is great. I think all of the elements it blended together in here work very well together. And yeah, I definitely think this is a game that anyone who likes like fast-paced action games would really appreciate. It's just a lot of fun, top to bottom for sure. That's it. Take a little seat down by the fireplace and let me tell you about Raycon wireless earbuds. I've talked numerous times about the importance of having a quality pair of earbuds that are wireless when it comes to being physically active in the world, because you don't want that wire getting in the way of things. For example, I have been able to get my bench up pretty substantially over the last few months. I'm up to repping out 30 reps of 155 pretty easily, and I attribute that entirely to switching to Raycon wireless earbuds for my pump sessions, because I don't have to worry about getting the wire in the way and holding me back from the gains that I was meant to achieve. Raycon earbuds sound just as amazing as the other premium audio brands, but come in at half the price. The Everyday E25 is their best model, 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, compact design, comfortable, it just has all the bells and whistles you'll want. So if you're interested in trying Raycon earbuds for yourself, you can click the link in the description below for 15% off your order. And if you just want to type it in, it's buyraycon.com/moist for 15% off your order. That's it. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
It's super rare for a game to completely blow me away and catch me by surprise, but that's exactly what happened with this game. It Takes Two is an absolutely stunning, amazing masterpiece of a game. Every single aspect of this game is wonderful. This is a game that clearly had a ton of passion put into it, into every little detail. You can feel the creator's heart and soul in the game universe. I felt like he was reaching out and touching me, maybe tweaking on my nipples a little bit as I was playing through the game, kissing me all over. This is a game that clearly was a passion project, and you can tell just with like the way that they sell the game, only one person needs to own the game and you can let someone else play with you. This is a co-op game, and it's an only co-op game. You can't play this solo, and it is just an incredible journey. It focuses on a husband and wife whose relationship has gone to dog shit, and now they're considering a divorce. In fact, they're pulling the trigger on the divorce, and their daughter is extremely sad about it. In her sadness, she accidentally casts a spell which turns her mom and dad into dolls, and they go on a grand adventure together. It is a moving story. The characters are so well done. For the first half of the game, you're gonna fucking hate the mom and dad, and that's by design. You're supposed to hate these two characters as you're getting going. They're highly unlikable. They do some truly deplorable things, some very fucked up things that I'm not going to get into because I don't want to spoil even the smallest minute detail of this game. No game in a long time has been able to elicit such emotion from me while playing it. I was finding myself just getting huge ear-to-ear smiles going through it, getting really sad during some things, like some characters that you get introduced to undergo some very brutal things. I mean, there's like a fucking scene here that was like straight out of a goddamn ISIS torture video. Like, it was brutal to watch, and you as the player are the one controlling it. So I mean, there's some nutty shit in here that it had me feeling things that I haven't felt in other games, like, ever. Like, this game got me really emotionally attached to the characters and the world. It is so well done. The narrative is so good. The characters so fucking good. There's nothing about this game that is even anything less than amazing and incredible. This is a game that introduces a new mechanic in pretty much every new level. It's not something where you get 2 or 3 mechanics that are just used ad nauseum throughout the whole game. And this is a long game, by the way. This is like a fucking 14-hour game. It took Matt and I 11 hours and 40 minutes to beat this bad boy, and we were fucking speedrunning it. We have some of the biggest brains in all of the world when it comes to puzzle games, so we were blasting through puzzles and stopping to, of course, appreciate the world and the art, and it still took us 11 hours. This is a big, beefy game. This is a game you can only play co-op. You can't do this solo, so I mean, grab a friend, grab your significant other, and get ready to go on a fucking moving journey. And if you don't have a friend or a significant other, go on like a rent-a-friend website or something and just get them to fucking play with you, because you need to experience the game. Like, this is a one-of-a-kind game. It's made by the same developers as A Way Out, which I enjoyed for what it was, but I didn't think it was anything like this. This game is fucking incredible. Absolutely lovely in all aspects. Now, I also really like the way they market the game, and like by that I mean the way they sell it. Only one person needs to own the game, so if you buy the game, you can get a partner to play with you without them having to own it. Only you need to have it. Only one person needs it, which I think is great, which shows me they're really not in it for the money. They wanted to deliver a unique and great experience, and that's exactly what they've done. This is a labor of love, and you can really feel it when you play it. Like I was mentioning, this is a game that never runs out of creativity. Every new level, you're getting new mechanics. So, for the first couple of levels, it's mainly some platforming with, some rope swinging here and there, nothing too wild or out of the park. But then you go to the next level, and you've got 2 new mechanics to work with, Next level, Cody's got a fucking honey blaster gun, and May's got a sniper rifle, and together, when you combine the two, it causes explosions, which you use to solve puzzles. Then you go to the next level, now you're inside of a fucking grandfather clock, where Cody's got a goddamn chronosphere dialing back the clock, turning back time, so you're manipulating time to solve puzzles, and May's able to clone herself. Like, you get all kinds of new creative tools to tackle the puzzles in the game, and it's so good. The game in the entire runtime at no point ever slows down and gets stagnant. You are constantly getting new mechanics to play with in a brand new world to play with. Every level is drastically different from the previous one. There's a level where you go inside a fucking tree and you're dealing with squirrels that are war-hungry maniacs and they're at war with the wasps. Then you're riding beetles around in a fucking wasp hive, going wild, trying to save, a bee who's in disguise as a robot. Like, there's just so much going on and constantly changing. You are always enjoying yourself. It is so well thought out and so creative. I can't suck this game's asshole hard enough. I haven't been blown away by a game like this in such a long time, if ever. And the soundtrack complements it wonderfully. The soundtrack bangs so hard. Nothing but boner jam after boner jam. It's so cinematic too, like the cutscenes and the set pieces. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's so fucking cool. It's so good. And there's also mini games throughout the world that you find. And when you find a mini game, you go head to head with your partner. You know, Cody versus May, so you versus whoever you're playing with, and you do these mini games and compete against each other. And the mini games are super fun. You know, there's simple ones like you play chess against each other. Then there's more complicated ones that are like a fully fleshed out mini game where you're playing like 2 battle tanks going to war. Like, it's just so good. It's so fucking good. It Takes Two is one of these rare games where it really feels like they wanted to deliver something that we've never seen before, and I think they've done it. This is a game I've never experienced anything like it before. It's an absolute joy. I'm going to plug It Takes Two into the Moist Meter now. I'm giving it a 95%. I don't have any complaints at all, literally not even the slightest nitpick that I could find with this game. This game is absolutely fucking incredible. Now, I know you're wondering, well then why didn't I give it 100%? I've said this before, I reserve 100% for games that I feel anyone of any taste can pick up and fucking fall in love with and, you know, go wild about. And the only game I would ever consider giving 100% to is Minecraft. I'm personally not a huge Minecraft fan, but I actually think it's probably the perfect video game. Anyone of any age and any taste can hop in Minecraft and enjoy the shit out of it. I don't feel the same way about It Takes Two. It Takes Two is going to be someone or some people looking for a narrative experience, a creative world, platforming, and puzzle solving. There's a lot of people that are going to be not enjoying the game. I totally understand that. But I really do feel like the game is pretty much flawless. It's just a game that's not going to be for everyone of every taste, which is the only reason I'm not giving it 100%. But this is as close as I've ever come in the history of the Moist Meter. This game is just, it's so good. Like, if you watched Matt and I stream it, you know on my stream, I was going absolutely wild. Like, I would take every opportunity to suck the fucking soul out of this game's dick. I fell in love with this game. This is a game that I genuinely think I will always think back on with a smile on my face. It's going to be one of those rare games where, like, 50 years from now, I'll still think about from time to time and just be like, yeah, that was a golden age of gaming thanks to It Takes Two coming out that year. Like, shit, the game is, I absolutely loved it. Like, you know, as you can probably tell, I'm a huge fan of it. I really am. And it's not even a genre I really like platformers I'm not too big on these days, and still loved it. Still absolutely loved it. So, highly recommend it if you have a friend or a significant other that you could play with, and I really think most people would probably enjoy the game as well. So, that's about it. There's been a golden rule most people follow these days, which is never settle for less when it comes to your mattress. It's something you're going to be using every day for a long, long time, which is why I'm going to talk about Helix mattresses. Helix mattresses are absolutely fantastic. They're catered to your body type. So you take a sleep quiz, which tells them exactly how it is you interact with the mattress, and they match you with the best possible mattress for your body. So for me, I sleep on my back. Sometimes I'd wake up with lower back pain because my mattress was a little too soft, and then taking the sleep quiz, I got matched with a mattress that was a little bit firmer for me, and now I just don't have that lower back pain in the morning anymore. Helix mattresses are super comfortable and just a really, really great option. So if you're looking for a new mattress or just want to upgrade your mattress, you can definitely check out Helix. You can go to the link in the description below to get up to $200 off your Helix mattress, or you can go to helixsleep.com/moist to get up to $200 off of your Helix mattress. So yeah, absolutely give them a try if you want a better mattress. That's it. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today I finally get to talk about one of my favorite games of all time, Nier. This is a game that I can't suck the dick of enough. If you've been around the channel for a long time, you know that I've talked about Nier a fucking ton. It is my go-to gold standard when it comes to story-driven games. Originally, Nier came out in 2010. I played it in 2012, and as a result, it changed my life. It made me a stronger, more attractive man, and probably made me taller back then. I know I'm not exactly known for my height now, but imagine if I never played Nier and gained a few extra inches on my height. Nier was a game that, to me, was something I'd never experienced before, and I've still never experienced since. So I'm so happy, just fucking delighted that they decided to remaster the original Nier with Nier Replicant. Nier Replicant just came out, and it is the exact same game as it was in 2010, but completely upgraded. Visually, a combat overhaul, as well as adding new content to it, a whole new ending. It is better than the original. It is such an incredible experience that I can never recommend enough. Nier was never a flawless game. The biggest shit stain on the pristine panties of this product was its gameplay. In 2010, it just had very dated gameplay. It wasn't fun to really play. It was just an incredible story with the best soundtrack in gaming, which is also still true with the remaster here. But with the remaster, they've taken that kind of boring, shitty gameplay and improved it. They've made it a lot better. It's still not like the best gameplay you'll ever play in your life. You're not going to be playing Nier Replicant just because you've fallen in love with the gameplay. It's still very simple, but it's much better than it was. So it takes that and brings it up to a more modern feeling, and I absolutely appreciate that. It is a lot more fun to play, though I still wouldn't really say the gameplay is anything all that special. It's very surface level stuff. You get a decent selection of weapons, but they all kind of function the same way. You put words on them to improve some very basic stuff on them, and you can pretty much just choose one weapon and use that for the entire playthrough of the game, because normal difficulty is way too easy, and hard difficulty is still easy. It's just everything is a massive fucking health sponge. I streamed the whole thing, and one of the boss fights on hard took me 20 minutes of pure DPS, never missing a single DPS phase or anything, to finally kill it. Hard is just a massive health pool, so that's the only difference between the difficulties, but in both cases you can pretty much just pick one weapon and get through the game pretty easily. You're never really switching weapons out, so the gameplay, again, isn't like the best, but it's much better than it was, and it's still fun. It's still flashy, and there's just nothing wrong with it. It's just kind of basic. So if you're coming into Nier Replicant with the expectation that the gameplay is going to blow your little asshole out or something, it's just not going to happen. But what you are going to get is an incredible story with the best soundtrack in video games. I've said it since I beat it initially, and beat every ending, of course, in 2012. I've said it since then, and I'm saying it again now. Nier has the best soundtrack of any game ever made, period. The only thing that comes close is like Nier Automata. Like, Nier is on a whole nother level when it comes to OST. And in Nier Replicant, they have revamped the soundtrack, keeping most things intact, but just making it sound much cleaner. And a lot of people were a bit disappointed by that. I wasn't one of those people. When you play them side by side, the original versus the Replicant counterpart, there are noticeable differences. It sounds much cleaner in Replicant, but some of the songs are a bit different with their composition. Not that I'm really let down by it, because it's still absolutely incredible in the Replicant edition versus the original. The original does have that kind of like muffled kind of charm to it, but I definitely think that they're pretty much the same, only like a few small differences between them, not enough to be disappointed by. It is still the best soundtrack in all of video gaming. And now what matters the most and what I really want to focus on is the story of Nier. Nier Replicant adds some more content to it, which I'll get into in a minute, but I want to focus on the actual core story of Nier. It is unlike anything you will ever experience in video games, I assure you of that. This is a story that is not afraid to be dark. It's a story of just absolute hopelessness around every corner. It's a story that is just so incredibly fucking sad. It punches you in the nutsack and then keeps punching you in the nutsack, and then once you finish all of the endings, it rips your entire nutsack off. And if you're playing this without a nutsack, it's gonna slap its nutsack on your face. This shit is absolutely wild. It is so grim, sad, and moving. It's done beautifully. It's a story of just pure tragedy across the board. When you think you're getting to something with a little hope in there, bang! Yokotaro comes in and he slaps that thought right out of your fucking head in the next cutscene. Like, it is on a whole nother level. Most games pull their punches or they're just too afraid to go where Nier goes, but this, it goes in there full throttle. It does not slow down. It is more than happy to deliver such an incredibly sad, albeit beautiful narrative, filled with interesting characters that you can't help but feel for. Now, I mentioned there's multiple endings to this game, but that's not exactly accurate. They're not just endings. Like, Route B is a completely different experience. So Route A is what you're going to play through the first time around, and you're going to be moved by it, I'm sure, but Route B is where this game truly shines, and there is nothing like Route B in anything else out there. That's for goddamn sure. Route B picks up right after you beat the game, you reload your save, and then you start the game from the halfway point, and the game is completely different. Everything that happens in Route A affects Route B and your experience in the game. So Route B turns the entire narrative on its fucking head, puts it asshole to God, and it is a completely different ballgame that will absolutely make you very, very sad at a lot of points. Everything it does with its story is done masterfully. It's a genius narrative, really. But I will say, the dialogue is a bit corny, and by a bit I mean it's really corny. If you've watched anime, you know sometimes when they over-explain things or they really beat something into you, that happens a lot. And I feel like for a lot of people that takes away from just how impactful the actual story elements are, like the beats of what's going on. Like you'll have this incredibly brutal scene, someone very important to you, someone that you've been growing with throughout the course of 2 playthroughs now has just perished, and it's a really bloody, terrible scene, and then the dialogue will kick in and they're like, how could this happen to such a good person? They were such a good person because of this, and they were still such a good person up until the moment they died. And it's like, oh, this is a really powerful moment, but the dialogue kind of reels it back, and it's like, oof. And I don't know how much of that is just translation, which I think is a big part of it. I play the dub because it's nostalgic to just play it the original way I played it in 2012, but it is something worth noting that for some people, I have no doubt that kind of dialogue is going to take you out of just how powerful those moments are, and it's a shame. It doesn't do it for me personally, because it's easy to just look past that. It's like, you know what, they're over-explaining things and really driving this in, but so what? It doesn't really take me away from it, but I know for some people, in the chat, they're like, okay, that's a bit much, they don't need to keep saying that. And I do get it, but I think it's easily overlooked if you can just, move past that and understand that, yeah, it's going to be over-explained sometimes. No game has the balls to do what this game does. It is such an incredible adventure, a narrative masterpiece. This game is just truly special in everything that it does with its narrative, its universe, its world, and this is a really big world. There's a few games that come before this that tie directly into this, called the Drakengard series. I personally am not overly familiar with the Drakengard series, only what relates to Nier, but you don't need to have that understanding going into this game. It pretty much feeds you what you need to know about the world, which is good enough. And then if you've played Automata, which I imagine a lot of you that are watching this have, because Nier Automata was a massive success that I couldn't be happier for, because Yoko Taro really deserved to have such a huge smash hit. Most of you have probably played that. It doesn't really tie into Nier here. This takes place thousands of years before Automata, but you will recognize some things in this game from Automata. It comes way before it, but they do exist in the same universe. So I just want to let you all know there's a lot in this universe, and it's so wonderfully constructed. Now, I'd like to get to a couple more things because, again, the game's not flawless. There is a lot of dated game design that's still here in Replicant because they wanted to stay true to the original, and that comes in the form of text-based adventures. There is one section in particular that is 45 minutes of only reading. So there are times in this game where they're not showing you anything, they're just putting words on the screen and you're reading a story. It happens in one location, even in the initial playthrough, where you're solving riddles and reading short stories, and then it happens again a bit later where it is 45 minutes of uninterrupted reading to explain to you a character. It's well written, they're not poorly written or anything, but it's not exactly a great gameplay design, especially when the game is typically a very high action, fast-paced kind of gameplay. So it's just something that I thought I'd mention that just doesn't really translate super well to a modern game. The game is constantly changing genres throughout, which I think is great, keeping it fresh. But when it gets to the tech stuff, you can really see a bit of datedness to it. And the side quests are pretty bad. Almost all of them are fetch quests. There are some exceptions, of course, but for the most part, they're fetch quests. Kill these things, get these things, bring them back, and that's about it. You get gold for it. So the side quests aren't very interesting. but that's not the biggest deal in the world. It's just, it is a product of 2010. So these kind of things you can't really completely change in an upgrade to the game. But what they have done is they've added a lot of new stuff as well, not just the combat overhaul. They added an entire new route E, that is completely new to Replicant, and it's really, really good. It adds a lot to the experience, and I'm trying my best not to spoil anything about this game, but you will get to play as a new character, you'll get to go through a new thing, and it's really great. They also add a new section that wasn't in the original Nier, where you go to a ship and you learn about a new shade, and they did add some new content to it. This is a much better version of the original Nier. I really think it's just a genuine improvement in every department, even soundtrack. I actually preferred the newer soundtrack to the older one, but maybe it's because I haven't heard the older one in a while, but either way, they're pretty much fucking identical. You can't go wrong with original Nier or Nier Replicant soundtrack. It's still the fucking best there is. I just genuinely think Nier Replicant is a pure upgrade in all the fields of the original Nier. So plugging Nier Replicant in the Moist Meter, I'm giving it a 90%. It's been over a decade since the original Nier came out, and still nothing has even come close to its narrative masterpiece. It is unlike any game you have ever played before, and I always recommend this game to anyone who likes story-driven games, because this does it better than anything I've seen. No game goes where Nier has gone, tackles some very heavy themes, very good characters, very, very, very good writing with its story. I just can't praise this game enough. I always recommend this, and I'm still recommending it. Nier Replicant is fantastic. That's about it. So yeah.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at the new Ratchet and Clank game, Rift Apart. If Twitch chat is anything to go off of, this game has completely reinvented erections and created an entire new generation of furries. But not only are the furries getting erections, anyone who can appreciate beautiful visuals is as well. This game is absolutely stunning. I would argue one of the best looking games ever made, and I don't say that lightly. Jackson, the co-host of the Moist Meter, whom I'm sure he doesn't shut the fuck up sometimes in these things, he hit me with a text message right before the game came out saying that it might be the most beautiful game he's ever seen, and I thought he was being sarcastic. I would have never expected Ratchet and Clank of all games to be like the defining next-gen visual experience, but it turns out he was right on the money. This game is absolutely gorgeous. Everything's fucking ray-traced, and that's not anything I've ever cared about in the past, but in here, I was sitting there with my eyes wide and jaw on the floor like an old man who just found a color television for the first time in his life. This shit was completely different than anything I've seen before. It is impressive, beyond impressive, and I really love the huge emphasis on action in the cutscenes. The cutscenes aren't usually just characters talking to each other. It's characters going through fucking hell and back. Like the world is exploding around them in all kinds of colors and vibrant shit all over the place. And it's just so incredible. Like you're grinding down a pipe like it's Sonic, but much better than Sonic. Dodging incoming mine carts, getting shot at by robots. Then you're summoning the Kraken, and it's just so good. I just absolutely love the visuals in this game, the character design, the universe here, it just looks so good. Every other game that comes out these days is mainly just different shades of gray. It's like the game was designed by dogs, they just can't see color so they don't put it in their games. But this game is bold with its color choices. It's not afraid to just have all kinds of, erupting pinks when you're using some kind of dimensional item, and then you switch to a different weapon and all of a sudden you got fucking blue cyan icicles exploding, turning people into ice cubes. You're fighting a green goo guy. It's just so good. I love the way the game looks. And not only does it look good, but it plays incredible. There is no loading in this game. I didn't notice a single load screen or even a single second of loading. When it's going from point A to point B, going from cutscene to gameplay or gameplay to cutscene, it's seamless. It is completely seamless. If you die, you immediately respawn back without any downtime for the most part. It's crazy. I am the smartest man in the world, and I can't figure out how that's even possible. What Insomniac's done here is actually a game changer. I'd never even imagined a world where games would never have to load until now. And now I don't want to go back to seeing a loading screen. It's going to make me puke. just wild. And the gameplay is, I actually think, probably the best part about the game. I know I'm going kind of wild about, some of the technical stuff and how good the game looks, but it's just so much fun to play. It's a very old school experience, exactly what you would expect from Ratchet and Clank. It was always known for having great weapons, and it has great weapons here too. I was constantly playing around with the weapons, and you can switch on the fly, so I was going from using my shatter bombs, which was my go-to weapon. I think it's the strongest in the game. I maxed that out. I'd go from throwing 3 of those to clear out like a giant cluster of people, and then I'd go to put my dick in their ass by switching to maybe the lightning rod, or if I was feeling a little wild, I'd bring out the warmonger, which is a rocket launcher, and all of these weapons just work so well together. But the thing is, the game never really challenges you to switch up your playstyle. I could have gone this whole game just using shatter bombs until I ran out of ammo and then just switched to something else. I never really had to analyze how I approached a fight because this game lacks enemy variety, and that's really my main complaint about it. I have nothing but great things to say about this, but this is the one little mark on the report card that your parents would be a bit ashamed of. There is only like 5 or 6 different enemy types in total, and they don't really require a whole lot of thinking beyond just attack them with any weapon that you want. The only difference, the only exception is there's one enemy type that has a shield, so then obviously you have to get behind them or explode something behind them for it to do the damage. Other than that though, it's just, hey, they're bullet sponge. I played on the highest difficulty, so you get all the same enemies all at the same time, and you just spam your weapons, which is fun because the weapons are fun, but I would have liked to have to change up my playstyle or just even think a little bit more about approaching a fight. I just could turn my brain off and just shatter bombs all over the place, fire the warmonger, maybe, just maybe, I'll bring out something a little crazier like the black hole disruptor, whatever the fuck it was called. It was a minigun. But you could always just set up with a little sprinkler that freezes them for CC, and then throw Mr. Fungus Man down and he'll help you fight. And then that's about it. You clear the entire wave and then you move on. I would have just liked a little more enemy variety and making it a little more varied in terms of how you approach combat. And that extends to its boss battles as well. There is quite literally only 2 bosses, and they're just constantly repeated. Of course, that's excluding things like the final boss or like a really important storyline boss. But other than that, the only bosses you'll be encountering are one of 3. I was wrong, I just remembered another one. There's actually 3 bosses. There is the giant robot guy who can jump around. He does a little shockwave. He also can do a flurry of rockets that track you. There is the giant dinosaur T-Rex thing, which throws rocks at you, and it has tusks that'll just stab you a bit. And then there's just an airship which shoots bombs. Those are the only 3 bosses you will ever encounter outside of the big main story bosses, and I think that's extremely underwhelming. So you'll go through these huge waves, and it is pretty difficult because the enemies have decent AI. So you'll drag your ass across the hypodermic needles and emerge victorious on the other side, and then you get your boss battle, which is extremely underwhelming because you fought it a million times by now, and you know exactly what to expect and exactly how to fight it. I just found that to be a bit lazy to just keep reusing the same 3 bosses throughout the entire game. And it's not a long game, but it's also not a short one, and there is reason to replay it. It took me about 10 hours-ish, a little less maybe, to just complete it on my first playthrough. That was with doing a lot of side missions as well as a bit of grinding to get some of my weapons maxed out. So I bet you could do it a lot quicker if you just beeline the main story. But there is a reason to go back because it unlocks a challenge mode, which you can further upgrade your weapons, and it's just more reason to play, and the gameplay is so fun that there's absolutely an incentive and a reason to go back. So you'll get more time out of it, but across that entire first playthrough, you're only seeing the same shit when it comes to the bosses and the actual enemies, and I found that to be a bit underwhelming. Now that complaint's out of the way, I want to get right back into sucking the game's dick. I think what they've done with Ratchet and Clank Ripped Apart is the gold standard for next gen moving forward. This feels like a game that's worth $70 to me. No loading screens, extremely fun to play, looks beautiful unlike any game I've seen before. I really do think this is up there in the conversation with some of the best looking games ever made. And of course the controller complements this all great with the haptic feedback. It's genuinely hard to not enjoy this game. The characters are fun, the writing is fun, the world is fun, and just just being in it is a great time. At no point was I ever bored or just waiting for it to end. I just really enjoyed my time with this game. So plugging this into the moist meter, I feel comfortable giving Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart an 85%. This would absolutely be a 90 if they just had a little bit more to the actual enemies you fight. It's so much fun to use the weapons, and it would have been even more fun to use them in situations that required all of them, or at least thinking about how to use them and when. It just became a little bit tired fighting the same enemies over and over and over again and fighting the same bosses, and I really think that weighed it down quite a bit because you're doing a lot of fighting in this game. This baby is like 85% pure action, so if you're bored of the enemies at like the halfway point, which I think a lot of people will be, because by the halfway point you have seen every enemy the game has to offer 12 times over. They introduce one very quick different enemy towards the later half of the game, but they're only there for a second. I'm not trying to spoil anything, but by the midpoint of the game you have seen every enemy and fought them a million times, and I think a lot of people will get kind of tired of that. So I think that's really just the main thing that holds this game back from being even better, but I still think this is an extremely great game. That's about it. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at Sonic Frontiers. Now, I was very public about how awful I thought the early trailers for this game looked, and I'm happy to say I was pleasantly surprised with how the game actually turned out. So, let's just get into it right away. Now, I think the game overall has a lot of great ideas, but the execution is lackluster in a lot of areas. It has wonderful ingredients, but the recipe's a little fucked up, so it ends up tasting a little shitty at points. But overall, I still really enjoyed the meal. So, the big thing with Sonic Frontiers is its open world. Obviously, that was like their main selling point. And it was the most concerning thing for me. From all of the early footage, it looked like a bland, empty, lifeless open world with nothing to do, nothing in it, and then just random obstacles thrown all over the place for some rails to grind and some pads to bounce off of with no rhyme or reason. And now that the game's fully out, I can say with confidence that's exactly what the open world's like. But it's still a lot of fun to play, and I see the potential for the formula here. The worlds are huge, so I don't want to get into spoilers, but there's more than one world. I'll tell you there's at least 3. And they're all pretty similar. They're large, and they just have a ton of haphazardly thrown together boosters that'll take you on like a short little adventure in order to get a memory fragment, which you use to progress the narrative. So you collect these memory fragments by going off of the rails that are throughout the levels, and when you collect enough, you use them on your friends in order to help save them. And on paper, it sounds bad, but playing it, it's really not. I really enjoyed it, especially in the first world. The first world I actually thought was the most fun world, but it is very empty. There's some enemies in there, but not many. There are mini-bosses, though, in these open worlds, and the mini-bosses are very fun to fight. I actually found the combat to be a breakout, joy for me. I thought it was going to be pretty uninspired and pretty boring, but it's not. It's fucking hype. So fighting the mini-bosses was always enjoyable because there's actual mechanics to it. It's not just a DPS check. You can do some fun stuff. There's some fun combos to experiment with. The skill tree's simple, it's quick to finish, but it is enjoyable. So fighting the mini-bosses in the world is the most fun to have in the open world. But yeah, there's not a lot in there, and it also has a huge problem with pop-ins, especially on World 2. Oftentimes with these floating rails and shit, you won't even see them until they're right in front of your fucking face. So you'll be going through like the booster, you hit the bounce pad, and then it seems like there's nothing there until you do a double jump and then some shit pops in. It seems like the game had a really tough time rendering everything at the speed you go. So there's just tons and tons of pop-ins, which is super rough and noticeable when the game open world hinges on you being able to figure out what path you want to take next. It really feels like there wasn't a whole lot of design thought that went into doing these things because they don't really connect to each other. Like you'll go through one of them, you hit the booster, you hit the bounce pad, you jump off a wall, you take another booster, you grind a rail, it sends you through 3 rings and then you get your memory fragment at the end, and it's just you floating above like the open world. And then you come back down to Earth. They don't connect to anything, they don't go to anything. Like, in most games, there's a rhyme and there's a reason for why things are placed where they are. Here, it just seems like they dumped a ton of these assets all over the place in order to make you farm these memories. And it was fun at first, but by the time you get to, like, World 3, it really starts to lose its luster and becomes more of a chore. But, of course, they're not the only thing in the open world, like I mentioned. There's also a fun progression system where you can even increase things like Sonic's speed, his overall speed, his power, his defense, ring capacity, shit like that, by getting the materials through fighting the mini-bosses or through fighting just normal enemies or finding them in the world. There's even fishing minigame with Big the Cat, which is great. So there is stuff to do in the world, more than I expected based on the early footage, but overall, yes, the open worlds are pretty lifeless, and it does feel pretty uninspired from a design perspective as well. But I don't think it's trash or anything, and I can absolutely see the potential because going fast, like you can collect 400 rings and you get like a fucking turbocharged super boost and you're just going at light speed, fucking Mach 25,000, and you can zip around the map and it's fun. Like, it is super fun to do that. But it's just not fully realized yet, and I do think they can get there in the future as long as they commit to like improving this formula. They got the great groundwork right now. Now, I want to highlight World 3 in particular because I think that's this game at its weakest. World 3 is some of the worst design I've seen in a fucking open world game. There's a bunch of islands that are not connected super well, so you have to go way out of your way to go from one island to the other or find a bird to take you there, and it's just such a fucking headache. It completely puts the brakes on this entire experience and does not go way past cool. It goes way past fucking frustrating. It's miserable to play World 3. It slows everything down, and it is awful. I hated World 3. Everything's too spaced out, and you have to go to very specific paths in order to find the right rails to get where you want to go. And when you're doing like the little exploration stuff for the memories, it'll lock you into the 2D camera perspective so many times, and you can't break out of it until you get out of that little section, the rail section, or that whole area. And that's another complaint. The camera has a mind of its fucking own, and it hates you. The camera wants to make your life as miserable as it can. You are not only fighting enemies in this game, you are fighting this camera. The camera loses its fucking mind, especially starting in World 2. That's when it really started to stand out to me. Now, the highlight of this game, I think, is the cyber worlds. So that's the shit within the open world where once you defeat like a mini boss, you get your portal access and you get the key in order to unlock a cyber world of your choosing that's throughout the world. And that's the more focused traditional Sonic levels. Some of them are 2D, some of them are, full 3D, everything. And they are really fun. There's only like a couple cyber worlds I thought were kind of shitty, and that's only because they were really, really short. Now, they're super forgiving. This game's not a massive challenge by any means, but to get an S rank in a cyber world, you actually have to like try to suck dick in order to fuck it up. The only hard ones to S rank are World 1-1 and 1-2. After that, they just become super, super easy. They're very, very generous. You'll be getting S rank by like 45 seconds. You'll have so much time left over. But that doesn't mean that they're not enjoyable. I think the cyber worlds really stand out, and I liked it a lot. And another big standout to me is the soundtrack. This game's got an amazing soundtrack, especially during their Titan fights, which are their massive boss battles at the end of each world. Those go so fucking hard. Really reminded me of Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance at certain points. It dials up the hype. It's really fun choreography. Sonic goes like fucking Turbo Insano style, murders these Titans while some great metal's playing in the background. They have like screaming, which I didn't expect in a Sonic soundtrack. It was so fun. The Titan fights are amazing, and the soundtrack is just great across the board, especially in the cyber worlds. Another thing that I found really surprising is the depth to the mechanics here. There's a lot of mechanics in order to like traverse, in order to fight. Like, there's just a lot that you can master. So there was a lot more depth to this than I was expecting, which I was pleasantly surprised by. Now, I don't know how important the narrative is to Sonic fans, but I will talk about it here because, there's a story, and it's not bad by any means, but it's very standard, what you're expecting kind of story. The power of friendship, I'll do anything for my friends to save everyone. Sonic's got his classic snark, but none of the other characters really get a chance to shine except for a new character named Sage, who is introduced in here as kind of like the antagonist, and I think that character's pretty solid overall, and Eggman's great, but the story isn't anything that anyone's going to be like writing home about as like a powerful, profound piece, but it allows for really hype moments. It gets you from point A to point B to allow these amazing set pieces in the world. And I think it succeeds at what it wants to do, so I don't think it's bad. I just wanted to like briefly talk about it, that it's nothing super special. But I do like a lot of the callbacks, and there's a bit of fan service in there as well. And I just overall didn't mind it whatsoever, but I don't think it's great either. Plugging Sonic Frontiers into the Moist Meter, I'm giving it a clean 70%. This turned out a lot better than I expected it to. I went in there with very low expectations, and I was very pleasantly surprised. I always approach games with an open mind, even if it's one that I don't think is going to be great, and I'm always happy when it turns out that I'm wrong and the game is good, and that is the case with Sonic Frontiers. It's got a lot of problems. There is a lot of jank. I didn't even mention this. Let me mention it now. The combat when you're fighting a lot of these bosses is fun, but so fucking janky. Sometimes you just shoot across the world for no reason because momentum gets carried in a weird way after you use some of the combos. So the combat gets very, very janky, and with the camera being as unpredictable and shitty as it is, it can just become really nauseating sometimes and lead to some unfortunate deaths that sometimes are just straight up out of your control. So yeah, there's some jank to it, but overall, I do think Sonic Frontiers is a really great attempt at making something special with Sonic. It's not a full, swing and a hit, like knocking it out of the park by any means, but they don't miss here either. There's a lot of execution that's sloppy, but if they stick with something like this, I think they can make something amazing in the future. So I think there's a lot to look forward to for Sonic fans. That's about it. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at God of War Ragnarok, one of my most anticipated games of the year. If we have any Moist Meter viewing veterans in here, you'll know that God of War 2018 actually took home the Moisties Grand Prize First Place Best Game of 2018 award, a very prestigious title that games fight tooth and nail for. We gave it to God of War in 2018, and I'm excited to say that God of War Ragnarok exceeds the expectations I had for it. I loved every second of this adventure. It had me strapped into my seat with a big smile on my face and a wet spot in my trousers. I think pretty much everything in Ragnarok is an improvement over its predecessor, which is not an easy thing to do. It was very ambitious to completely change the God of War formula from just standard hack and slash like they had with God of War 1 through 3, and then completely revamp the entire combat system and change the entire narrative structure in order to make God of War 2018, but it was a gamble that paid off greatly, and they've really mastered it with Ragnarok. I feel like Ragnarok has some of the best writing in all of gaming, and I absolutely believe it has some of the best voice acting ever in gaming. Up there with like Red Dead Redemption 2 in terms of both writing and acting. It is just so good. The performances are so compelling, especially Sindri and Odin. It's everything in this game. All of the ingredients lead to the most beautifully tasteful entree you've ever eaten in your life. I loved everything about Ragnarok. I don't think it's a perfect game. I'll get into some of the more minor complaints here in a moment, but let me just keep sucking its dick real quick. I want to keep swallowing the meat. Let's start with a couple of the things that God of War 2018 I thought lacked, which is enemy variety and boss battles. Those were very big complaints that most people had. Ragnarok does not have that issue. There is significantly more boss fights here. There's a lot more enemy variety. It's very clear they had a lot bigger budget to work with, so they were able to fully realize more things in terms of the enemies and the combat and the bosses. It's much, much better. It never gets old fighting through hordes of enemies or fighting bosses. There's now more than just one mini-boss. Instead of it just being a recolored troll for fucking 20 hours like it was in 2018, they now have tons of little mini-bosses that are fun to fight. Now, not every boss is fun to fight. There are a couple where their main mechanic is they'll hit you twice and then run away with an unpunishable move, and then you have to wait for them to come back, which of course is a bit of a tedious headache. I played this game on the highest difficulty, give me God of War, and of course things are spongy, but they really toned down the difficulty from 2018. I don't think that's a positive, I don't think it's a negative, but I want to mention that it is easier than 2018 with its highest difficulty, but some boss battles I really didn't enjoy. I just don't like that mechanic of, we're going to hit you twice, you can punish for a second, then we run away, and now you just wait, because then it becomes less about like skill and mastering the fight, and more about just being extremely patient and slow rolling things. And that's not a big complaint or anything, but I'd like to mention it. The game's also super generous with checkpoints. During any boss fight, like major boss fight, you'll get like 2 checkpoints throughout the fight. So if you get it down to half health and die, well, you probably got a checkpoint somewhere in there and it's already at like half health again. So it's very forgiving, unlike 2018. So if you were a little upset by how difficult 2018 was on the highest difficulty, you'll probably be pleased here. And for me, yeah, I didn't mind either way. Now, the combat has had improvements, some quality of life improvements that I really did feel pretty quickly, but they also added more depth to it as well. So they introduce, well, actually, I don't want to get into spoilers, but they do introduce more to the combat, and there is a lot more that you can tinker and play with. There's now set bonuses for some enchantments. There's a lot of ways of having unique builds. The build I used is from early game, and it carried me all the way to late game. I used a Vanaheim Poison Toxic Fist build, so I basically had the Stinky Finger build where I just bare-fisted everything, and it worked really well. It was a very fun build, and I feel like there's quite a bit of variety to the builds that you can play with here. So I really did appreciate that. You could cater the playstyle to whatever you're feeling. I really enjoyed just the barbarian slinging fat fists all over the place and dropping it down. I liked it a lot. Now moving on, I want to gush about the story. The story is so good. I can't express enough how much I enjoyed it. I was a little worried that with the big shoes to fill with 2018's story that they'd maybe miss the mark and try a little too hard and just fall short. They did not. They knocked it out of the park. And the side quests. So I didn't do all of the side quests. I did a lot of them in the early game, but fell off in the mid to late game because I really wanted to push through the main story. I will be going back to do all of them, but all the side quests I did felt very important. Like, they had a lot of depth to it. They had a lot of character development during the side quests. Like, they didn't feel useless by any means. Like, they were fun. They had a fun goal. They even had fun fights. And the story and the side quests alone were so good. I swear to God, some of the side quests are better written than most AAA games in their full main story. I'm just so impressed with how well written this game is. There's some dialogue in here that is just so badass that it is still sitting in my head right now and putting a smile on my face. For example, there's a moment where you're just, exploring, and just in normal conversation, a character says to Kratos, "You don't strike me as someone that would fear death," and Kratos says, "I'm not. Death can have me when it earns me." Like, that is just such a masculine fucking outrageous thing to say. I felt like I grew 3 inches and my muscles got more chiseled and I grew a thicker beard just from hearing Kratos say that. And Christopher Judge's voice is so perfect. He again delivers an unforgettable performance as Kratos. And like I said, everyone does an amazing job. But man, just hearing some of those badass lines from Kratos delivered by a voice like Judge is a perfect combination. I can't express enough just how much I love the writing in this game. Though I will admit there are quippier moments than 2018 had. I think there's a few more jokes from characters you wouldn't expect it from. Like with Brock and Sindri, you're expecting some comic relief here and there. But other characters get quippy too, which I think may have been a little much at times. But it's never enough to be jarring or annoying and take you out of it. Just something I noticed. Not a positive, not a negative, but just want to mention it. One thing that is an absolute negative, though, is the built-in backseat gaming feature. So I'm sure you've seen this on Twitter by now because it's become a big meme. When you play this game, you're of course going to encounter puzzles, but the game treats you like a fucking idiot who can't tie your own shoes. So the second you look at a puzzle, if you don't solve it immediately, if you take like 3 seconds to look around, your companion will just tell you the answer. They will feed you the solution. And then you just have to sit there and be like, oh, what the fuck? I didn't even get a chance to try the puzzle. You already told me how to solve it. It is so frustrating, and it's not a feature you can turn off right now. You'd expect it to be like an accessibility feature, but it's not. It's built in, and you can't get rid of it. At least I haven't seen any way of getting rid of it. So hopefully they have a patch for it, because it is so frustrating. And it's not like they even mention it one time. They will spam it. Like, have you tried hitting this crystal? Have you tried spinning this? You have to spin this. Why aren't you spinning it? Spin it to solve this puzzle, you goddamn fucking moron troglodyte. Like, at no point does it even give you a chance to solve a puzzle without just screaming the solution at you. So that was a little stupid. I didn't like that at all. But actually, that's probably the biggest complaint I have for the game, which, in the grand scheme of things, is a pretty minor complaint. Now, steering it back into more compliments, the game has amazing music as well. I think everyone's going to immediately notice how great the score is here. Every goddamn moment of this game sounds amazing. It just feels so big, and the music helps complement that atmosphere. And jeepers, I gotta tell you, it is such a beautiful world filled with beautiful things and a lot to explore. There is a lot to do in the game. It is a very long game. So I mainly rushed the story starting around mid-game, and it still took me like 25, 26 hours to beat. And I know there's a lot of content still there for me to do. For example, the Berserkers. So the Berserkers have replaced Valkyries from 2018 as like the big, scary, secret bosses to do. And I gotta say, they're worse than Valkyries. I haven't done all of them, but the ones I have done have been very lackluster. They fall into what I complained about a little bit ago, where some of the enemies, some of the mini-bosses and bosses, are 2 moves and then immediately run away, and then you just have to wait. Every Berserker I've done so far is that. They'll throw 3 moves at you, you punish slightly, then they run away. And of course, they're very spongy, so it just takes a long time. It's like 10 minutes of just that, rinse and repeat till they're dead. Now, hopefully some of the later ones that I've missed improve, but the ones I've done so far for the Berserkers are pretty not amazing. I prefer the Valkyrie fights. They were far more memorable and far more fun to actually fight. But luckily the combat's so fucking fun that even a tedious boss fight is still fun because the combat is just so enjoyable. There's a lot more that I'd like to talk about, but unfortunately that's going to get into spoiler territory, so I'm just going to leave it at all of this for now. Plugging God of War Ragnarok into the Moist meter, I'm giving it a very strong 95%. I cannot recommend this game enough. I think this is a true masterpiece. I absolutely fucking loved it, and I feel like most people will. So yeah, I mean, that's about it. See ya.